Alright, and I'm back. You know, that looks so much better. A whole lot better, to tell you the truth. I don't have all that white up under here. I can still got a little bit right here, but it is what it is. It's amazing what you can get done with a good old Gillette Fusion. And these things really, really do work good too. Got the little ball swivel, all that good stuff. So, yeah. Anyways, I'll get to that later. I'll put that up later. Now, basically, what I wanted to get into is my DNA testing results. And basically, I want to let you know right now that I'm about to be a little thorough on the DNA testing and its results and everything that's going on out here with these DNA tests. So be prepared for a very long. Wow, I just realized that I might as well just cut the whole thing off. Well, anyways, yeah. But anyways, it'll grow back. But what I want to let you know though is that this is going to be a long video. So if you're in for it, let me, you know what I'm saying, go ahead and just watch the whole video. If you're not, you just want to see the DNA testing results, that will be later on in the video. Down in the descriptions, I will put down there exactly where to skip to so you can see my DNA tester and the results. But for right now, let's get into all of this because there's a lot of information. Now, one of the things that I noticed about these DNA tests that I see a lot of people going through and taking care of, taking is that they all mainly use the exact same company, 23andMe. Then there was Ancestry.com, and then I think a few of you even mentioned World Ancestry, and another big one that I really started to go deal with, and which I might go ahead and deal with later, is African Ancestry. I'm thinking about taking their test too, even though I got basically all the information I need right here. And there's one other test that I want to take too. It's a very expensive test, which might set me back a little bit. I think the to get the entire ordeal taken care of through them is gonna run you about $1,500. But what I wanted to do is to show basically the companies that I used, which I didn't use African Ancestry. I didn't use Ancestry.com. I didn't use um, what's the other one? 23andMe. What I did use was CRI Genetics. I'm trying to get it the way you can see it. CRI Genetics. As you can see, they have a Mother's Day sale, 50% off. Their lowest price ever, exclusive to first-time customers. And when you go through them, you will be amazed at what you find. I think the test ran me about $99 plus an additional 10 to $15 for the famous people section. And through them I basically got the combo of the maternal and the paternal done. Now, the second company that I went through was what is called this company right here. I'm waiting for it to load up right now. not in mail, was GTL DNA. Let's see if I can get it. There's a lot of light shining in front of back. I got to kind of like turn it to the side or whatever to try to see if I can get some of that glare off. Okay, there we go. Can you see it? It's a lot of glare. Wow, make no sense. That didn't even help at all. Okay, there you go. I had to turn it to the side so you can see it. It say GTL DNA ancestry test. I went through these people as well, and they have multiple ones like the GPS origins ancestry test. As you can see, it's 149 pounds, not dollars but pounds. And so therefore, this is one of those companies that's coming from overseas, over where I'm in the United States. So it's coming from, to me, it's overseas, over there in the UK. And they have what is called the GPS origins ancestry test. Then they had a paternal lineage DNA testing. Then they had the maternal lineage DNA testing. Then they had the ancestral origins DNA ancestry test. That's a mouthful. But anyways, I through this company I got basically almost the exact same as the other company, which was the paternal lineage and the maternal lineage. I did the combo, which gave me a discount off, so that was about 200. That set me back about $200. So it saved me about $100, I believe. By doing that, then I turned around and went with the ancestral origins DNA ancestry test, which gives you basically a map, a DNA map of where everything in you comes from. It's basically located today, and or possibly is located in somewhere and in any point within the time up to today, but all the way going back into the ancestry. So now, what I want to start off with, I got to pull it up because they sent me everything via email, but they also sent me my map, which is I bought, and I don't know if you can see that right there, but it looks like, yeah, there you go. You see how it was taped. Now in one of these type of tubes, normally you got that little plastic cap on both ends. When I ordered this the first time, it didn't show up. I don't know if it was because of all this COVID or whatever, but I got a DNA map that's out there somewhere, and nobody can tell me what happened to it. And so I had to write the company and let them know. Like I think I waited like 2 months. You know what I'm saying? For about a month before I went on ahead and went back to them and told them, look, I still haven't sent it back. I still haven't gotten it yet. So they finally sent me another map, and as you can see, the tape on there, it's supposed to be a plastic cap here, not no tape that was basically holding all the contents inside of it. Do somebody want to know what my DNA is that badly? I'm sharing it on video. It's crazy when you get into this type of stuff, because people want to know exactly all your information, but let you sit there and try to look up somebody else's information. They want to call the cops. They want to go to the congressman. They want to hit the president up. They want to talk to everybody because they trying to get you in trouble. But let you try to do that same thing to them. Nobody want to hit a word. But anyways, we're not even gonna get into all of that. What we are going to get into is, okay, I got it on this one right here, this phone right here. See, I got it in a PDF. It's in a PDF. Let me pull that up. File manager. Go back to this other stuff. Go through all my downloads. Um, in case you're wondering, I just happen to have this on here. This is me when I was a little bit younger. As you can see, I didn't have all the gray hairs that I got now, you know. And when I in the before picture, you see all that gray. I mean, literally, that all that white was literally making the contrast on my webcam brighten up so bright I couldn't even see it. You probably could see it on the other side, but me, I'm like, damn, I can't even hardly see anything. I was like, then when I just did this and covered it up, it darkened back down. And I was like, wow, just that little patch of white hair is doing that. So it's amazing. But this is how I was looking when I was younger, a lot younger. You know, I think I was in about my 30s at the time. And then there's another one. This is when I. This is a few years ago. You see the gray hairs is in there. This is when I was out at Universal Studios. You know. But anyways, y'all know I look good. I'm just messing with y'all. But anyways, but at the same time, I was a lot thinner then than I am now. You know, so you can see it in the cheeks, and then you see match the other two pictures, so you can tell that where I was gaining weight at, which I am going to eventually lose it anyway. So it's not a problem. But what I wanted to get to is, let me come back up here and go to that PDF. The I know it was not far down. Was it? Okay, here we go. Maternal and okay, it's three. It's a total of three downloads because one breaks down my maternal and one breaks down my paternal. But then there's one that's like a guidebook, and so that's what the one I want to open up right now. It's the one where it talks about being a guidebook. See if you can get that in there without all the glare. Ancestry, you know, and basically it's a guidebook that's telling you a lot of different things. Say like the introduction. The purpose of this manual, he said, welcome to your ancient heritage. The purpose of this manual is to serve as a reference source for questions you may have about ancestry, DNA testing in general, as well as the results you receive and what they mean. In this manual, we'll go over some DNA basics and information on human evolution and history, followed by a discussion of the lineage testing services we currently offer. We also provide some resources at the end of this manual should you wish to do further research on your own. Each day, scientists around the world are further refining what we know today about ancestral genetics and worldwide human migrations. The results we give you are great tools in your voyage as you learn more about your ancestors and where they came from. Your results package. In addition to this manual, your results include a frameable certificate listing your haplogroup, your genetic family name, and a short description including when and where your haplogroup originated. It also includes the DNA information that we use to assign your haplogroup. You may be able to use this information in some public discussion boards and databases for further research. A list of these resources is included at the end of this manual. It's a 19-page manual, 19 to 20 pages, something like that, that they give you. I don't know if they give that to you with 23andMe or Ancestry.com or even African Ancestry, but this one right here is GTL DNA, and they give you a whole lot of information to go along with it. I see a lot of videos. They tell you they see stuff out there, and what do you say? What do they say? I'm seeing dots, little dots, all up in the oceans and the seas and all that. Well, this is going to explain all of that too. But I can just alleviate all that and just cut straight to the chase. Those are islands that you are seeing out in the sea. It's not just the sea or the ocean. Those are islands, but they're so small that it doesn't really register on your map. you know. But anyways, it would say in your results package. In addition to this manual, your results include. Okay, I read that part right there. It also includes the DNA information. I read that. That your haplogroup is typically represented by a capital letter, as in the common European mitochondrial haplogroup H. Tested individuals may belong to this major haplogroup or one of its subgroups. Subgroups are represented by the capital letter followed by a number, and further subgroups have additional letters and numbers, for example, H1, H1B, and so on. If you belong to a subgroup, you also belong to the major group as well. So if you're in the subgroup H1B, but the major group is H1, you also belong to H1, not just H1B. But you have, say you belong to all that group that comes before that, or all the groups, all the other groups that come before that. You belong to all of that. An extended description of your major haplogroup is also included with your certificate. It contains additional information on different populations that are members of your haplogroup, including historical anecdotes and famous people, if any, whom you may be distantly related to. DNA basics. This chapter reviews some basic information about DNA biology and inheritance. As you may know, DNA is the genetic material found in all living things. Each cell in your body contains a full copy of the genetic material, which encodes all your body's structure and functions. DNA is most often represented as a double helix. In the cell, the DNA helix is found in tightly coiled and packaged units called chromosomes. If all of the DNA inside a cell is stretched out and placed end to end, you'll have a long double-stranded helix that is about 3 meters in length. Something like, just if you unwind, the cell is so small, but if you unwind it, it'll be somewhere around, I say somewhere around that long. That long. That's a lot of stretching. And anyways, the DNA helix looks like a twisted ladder. The two sides are composed of the four bases: adenine A, thymine T, guanine G, and cytosine C. And the rungs of the ladder represents hydrogen bonds that connect specific pairs of these molecules together. For example, A, the line, and then T, or G and the line C. And they got that right there too. So just turn it to the side so you get a look at that too. You can see it. I know you can see it because I can see it. You see the picture? There we go. Anyways, that's basically what the double helix looks like, and it looks like a ladder with the line with the letters and everything. You can pause it and go back and look at it if when you see a clear picture or whatever. You say The arrangement of these molecules, called the DNA sequence, spell out the instructions for our physical characteristics and body functions. These instructions are found in units called genes. Now, I want to stop there because these scientists have figured out something about what they call the instructions, and they said that they found that it's not one part of the gene, but it's a whole different part of the gene or the genome that is literally the instructions and not the one that they originally. I have to go back and look that up, or you can do your own research and look that up. I just happen to read it in one of these one of these scientific um essays that they put up online. There's a few times where I'm gonna stop and just tell you fill in certain information, and you can always go Google it and find out for yourself exactly what I was talking about. Now, where was I at? Okay, not all of the DNA sequences code for genes. In fact, the majority of your cell's DNA is found in non-coding regions. They are thought to serve other purposes, which include regulating gene activity as well as providing structural support and protection. Many of these non-coding regions happen to contain markers, specific DNA sequences that are useful for human identification and lineage study. Types of DNA used in lineage testing. You know what? A lot of this stuff is probably you already know. You know about the Y chromosome and the. Well, no, I'm gonna explain it anyway because you have people in there talking about. I had I watch a lot of videos where women make a mistake and they try to say, "Well, I don't see where this came from my dad and this and then," but it says it in my DNA testing results that this, and they forget. Women cannot take the Y or the paternal lineage test. They can only take the maternal or mitochondrial test. You have the paternal, and then you have the mitochondrial. And then there's a third one that is called the nuclear DNA. That's everything on the outside of the gene. So where they mess up to that is that they try to say, I don't know where this came from on my father's side and this. No, you have, in order to actually trace back on your father's side, you have to literally get a male relative, a close male relative to you, and use their DNA to discover everything off your father's side. That's for the ladies. But the men, us men, we can take both the Y and the X, the mitochondrial and the paternal. You know what I'm saying? Then you have the nuclear DNA, which they use for a whole different set of testing. Wow, that doesn't look good at all. But anyways, um, so basically, for the women, when it comes to DNA testing, I'm not talking about you in general. Well, I am talking about you in general, but when it comes to the DNA testing, they're only testing from you to your mother, to your mother's mother, and to your mother's mother's mother. They're only testing on the mother's side, but they're not testing your mother and then your mother's grandfather, your mother's father, and then your mother's mother, your grandmother, and then her father. They're not doing that. They're just going from you to mother to grandmother to great grandmother. That's the line that they follow. None of the men is tested. Reason why is because and through DNA it actually shows you how things are supposed to go down. You see, when woman, when you take on a man or your husband, um, your father becomes the recessive. Your man or husband is the one that's supposed to be the one the one in control of you. And vice versa, women in control of the man. But I'm just saying, he's the one that's supposed to be in control of you. It's his stuff that's taking over everything in your body when you bear his child. It's not your father. So that lets you know that you can listen to your father and everything, but your man is the one that runs the house, not your father. A lot of people want to get mad at me and angry or whatever, but that's just what through DNA is even showing you that. The father goes back to the wayside. That's why his ex won't go past you. Your husband's or your baby daddy or your man's, well, whatever you want to call him, his his Y, excuse me, not X, but Y, his Y chromosome takes over inside of you and germinates within that baby. And when he comes out, your baby is showing his, not your grandfather, not your father or your grandfather. Even though it's there to a certain extent, and what do you call that? The what I just called it, the what you call it, DNA. It's not the Y, it's not the X, but it's the other DNA. And so that's basically what happens, like it or not. But anyways, you say um, types of DNA. When discussing lineage DNA testing, we often refer to two types of DNA in your cells. The first is the Y chromosome, used in paternal lineage testing, and the second is mitochondrial DNA and in maternal lineage testing. These two types of DNA are discussed further below. As you may know, humans have a total of 46 chromosomes in the nucleus of each cell. These chromosomes come in pairs. We inherit one copy each of chromosomes 1 through 22 from our father and mother. The first group of chromosomes are called autosomes. The second group, the sex chromosomes, also come in pairs. Males inherit one Y chromosome from the father and one X chromosome from the mother. Females, on the other hand, inherit two X chromosomes, one from their mother and one from their father. Because the Y chromosome is inherited through the paternal line from father to son, relatively unchanged through several generations, it is possible to perform a paternal lineage test by examining the Y chromosome. The X chromosome does not present the same advantage for female lineage, since a woman's X chromosomes comes from both her father and mother. A female cannot trace her paternal lineage using her own DNA. She would have to request her brother or father to take the test to learn about her paternal lineage. Now, I want to stop here because the scientists have been figuring out, the geneticists have been figuring out that it is kind of possible to actually trace the father's lineage through the woman's DNA too. So they did an essay on that one too. So it was online. You can stop right here if you want to. You can Google it, look it up, and find out more, and just then let's go for it from there. But yeah, they have done that. Now it says because the Y chromosome is inherited through the paternal line from father to son, relatively unchanged through several generations, it is possible to perform a paternal lineage test by examining the Y chromosome. The X chromosome does not present the same advantage for female. Did I just read this? It says a woman's. Yeah, I just read that. The second type of DNA is mitochondrial DNA, abbreviated mtDNA. This form of DNA is found in multiple copies inside the cell, but outside the nucleus. It's inside the cell, but outside of the nucleus. Regardless of whether you are male or female, all of your mitochondrial DNA comes from your mother. During conception, only the male nuclear genetic maternal material enters the egg. As such, the fertilized egg only contains mitochondrial DNA from the mother. It is due to this maternal mechanism of inheritance that we are able to trace the maternal ancestry line for both male and females using mitochondrial DNA. That's basically what I just got finished telling you. Now, haplogroups defined. Throughout this manual, we will be referring to the word haplogroup. A haplogroup is a group of people sharing the same genetic characteristics and therefore the same lineage. For most people, this lineage goes back tens of thousands of years, so that people of the same haplogroup will have had a common ancestor 20,000 or even 60,000 years ago. As far as back as 60,000 years, that's a long time. 60,000. But yeah, you got groups out here propagating saying that the Earth, the Earth is only 6,000 years old or something like that. That's the reason why you can only trace back um, history back so far. Yeah, they steadily coming up with all new stuff, and they constantly know where they're digging out at ancient Egypt, and that's where they're finding a lot of the stuff at. You have to excuse me. I'm looking around out here because it's supposed to be 89 degrees out here today, and it is 89 degrees. I'm on my truck, and is and then but I'm down here in Texas, and they do have tornadoes sometimes, and this is about the right time for the season of tornadoes. So I looking around sometimes, so I see a little dark plots that don't look too good over there. But anyways, I'm not even gonna get into that, but I am gonna periodically glance over there. And plus, it would come across here and let me know if there was a tornado watch or whatever too. But at the same time, what I'm seeing with my eyes, I might see it before they even give the warning. But anyways, haplogroups are associated with a geographical and historical point of origin. During ancient times, the human race started migrating out of its common ancestral homeland in East Africa. As groups of people settled in Europe, Asia, and beyond, small changes in their DNA occurred, allowing them to form genetically distinct populations. These eventually came to be called haplogroups, and your haplogroup is a record of your ancestors' early settlements around the world. Because the two types of DNA, mitochondrial and Y chromosomal DNA, allows us to trace both sides of our ancestors' stories, haplogroups are assigned for both mitochondrial and Y DNA. These are alphabetical in nature, although a maternal haplogroup does not necessarily correspond with a paternal haplogroup of the same name. For example, mitochondrial DNA haplogroup A does not denote the same population and origins as Y-DNA haplogroup A. Limitations and others DNA testing. I'm going to read this piece right here And because the rest of it goes into the story of the human race and pre-human history, Homo sapiens, the knowing man, and timeline of human migrations and all that good stuff. Do you really want to hear about all of that? And then how the test works and your test results, how they read your test results and all the other good stuff. Do you really want to go into all of that? I'm just going to read this one last little bit and then we're going to move on from here. Limitations of other DNA tests. It is worth noting that maternal and paternal lineage testing traces the unbroken lines on your father's and mother's side and does not give information about the genetic contribution of spouses on either side. For example, the paternal lineage test may tell you about where your father's father came from, but not about your grandmother's heritage on your father's side, which is what I said earlier in this video. A maternal lineage test will tell you about your mom's mother, but not about your father's ancestry. To get a fuller view of your heritage, it would be beneficial to test those members of your family who may not be in your direct maternal or paternal lineage. Also, another test that we offer is the Ancestry by DNA test, which gives you percentage values based on testing many markers across your autosomal DNA, your 9-6 chromosomes. That's one of them tests that a lot of people on YouTube got done, and they always say, I don't understand. They gotta give me all of these percentages. I'm percent this, a percent this. I don't understand that. Well, it just got finished. I'm gonna reread it again. Also, another test that we offer is the Ancestry by DNA test, which gives you percentage values based on testing many markers across your autosomal DNA, your 9-sex chromosomes. It scans for markers associated with different populations and gives you an approximation of your ancestral makeup as a result of inheritance within the last few generations. This type of test does not look at direct relationships. That type of test does not look at direct relationships. It does not tell you which side of your family a particular percentage. Yeah, he's just parked right next to me. One of them animal haulers just pulled in. And if you've ever driven down the highway and one drove, just flew right by you and then cut you off and got right in front of you, and you got to smell all that animal. That's how this whole area is smelling right now, because one of those animal haulers just pulled in, and it don't smell too good at all. Ugh. I'm hoping he's just over there. Where did he go? Anyways, I'm gonna try not to even think about it. But if you've driven behind one of them, now you know what it's smelling like. Yeah, I had to turn on the recirculation air to try to get rid of it. Use the filters to get rid of it. Some of the smell, so it's still gonna get into here. But it filters out everything. It just recycles the air that's already in here, which I'm using a lot of it up. You know what I'm saying? Because as I speak, I'm spitting out um I'm spitting out carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide, and that stuff is poisonous. After you use up all the oxygen in the air, you breathing in that carbon dioxide, you start nodding off and all the other good stuff, and it can kill you. Your own breath can kill you. That's amazing. But anyways, So this type of test does not look at direct relationships. It does not tell you which side of your family. It does not. This type of does not regulation. It does not tell you which side of your family a particular percentage, say the indigenous American percentage, may come from. Rather, it gives percentage values based on world population statistics, matching the markers to world geographic locations. For more information about ancestry by DNA testing, please visit our website, ancestrybydna.com. Or you just go through, like I said, GTL DNA. Now I want to stop there because basically what they just got finished saying is what these other companies sold you, and you didn't know it. And you was talking about how you got all these percentages. Basically, it's just letting you know that you got family in those areas, but it doesn't mean that your family originated from that area. And later on in this video, I am gonna get into it and tell you exactly what's going on, because this is where you have to start adding in history. And see, once you start adding in history, and I'm not talking, because I'm a me, I used to call myself African American, but what I am is an ancient Egyptian, and we're gonna get into all of that, and I'm gonna explain exactly what happened. You see, a lot of people just look at me and people like me, black people or people of African descent, which Egypt is within Africa. It's not in the Middle East. It's in Africa. It's amazing how they can take just a small chunk of Africa and pull it away from the continent of Africa and try to put it in a whole nother region, which is the Middle East. The Middle East is where them Arabs and Chaldeans come from. You know, you don't call China, the southern part of China, the Middle East. You call it China. But Africa, for some odd reason, you want to take Egypt and say that's part of the Middle East. You know what I'm saying? It's not part of Africa. That's bull crap. I'm going to let you know that right now. I didn't want to curse, but I'm going to curse right now. That's bullshit. Or as in the Arabic language, they would call it Gakba. I can do that, you know what I'm saying? Because you'll see all of that, right? When I get finished with all this other information. See, because I got this right here, got the ancestral origins test. This is the next section. I just wanted to go through a piece of that manual, so because I knew it had some information in there that would explain some of the things that a lot of people had questions about when reading their own DNA test, that the company probably didn't send them the information, or they did send them the information and you just didn't read it. You just went straight to the DNA test. You know what I'm saying? GTL DNA sent me the actual manual via email explaining all of this stuff, and then I bought another. Then they also gave me another ancestral origins, um, ancestral origins to let me know a little bit more about what's going on. And this is like a 10-page report. And this is where you get into the meat and potatoes of everything about you and what's been going on around you. I can't say this is just African, because it's not. This is basically dealing with everybody, even though parts of it is basically specifically me. When if should you order through GTL DNA, then you will get this same information, but it have, see how I got my name on there, Shannon L. Clements. Instead of Shannon L. Clements, it's gonna have your name on there and everything about you, but it's still gonna have some of the exact same information that you see it I'm gonna read off to you on this. And then I'm gonna get into. This is all GTL DNA. GTL DNA. I found out a long time ago. I had to reorder it. 'Cause I had a big map. This right here, what I got right here is a small map. It's supposed to be a big tube with a big giant map that I ordered. So they sent me the small one because they didn't want to reprint another big one and it didn't show up. The big one they sent, somebody somewhere is sitting off with it in their home when it's supposed to be here with me. Because it come in a great big white tube. Like I said, I ordered it a long time ago. It was the deluxe map, not the small map like I got now. And so this is the reason why I'm gonna go ahead and deal with that. Deal with this right now. This right here is my ancestral origins information for Shannon L. Clements. It says ancestral origins, Shannon L. Clements. Thank you for purchasing the ancestral origins product. This document will help you understand your ancestral report and get the most out of what is represented on your customized map. About the population match map, this right here, the population match, map, this right here, that's what this is for, is to explain that. So each dot on a large population match represents an individual population that the tested individual's genetic profile was compared with. Hundreds of populations comprising 15 anthropological regions are utilized to create this map. Through several stages of analysis and statistical calculation that take genetic and anthropological factors into account, populations that the tested profile is most likely to be genetically linked with become apparent. The populations with an apparent link to the tested profile are indicated by highlighting them in green or yellow depending on the strength of the link. Each population's dot has a shape that indicates which anthropological region it belongs to. This, in addition to the color of the population's dot, allows the populations and regions that the tested individual is most closely related to, in a geogenetic sense, to be seen at a glance. Now, why I'm glad that I have this information, because I'm gonna stop right here. It's because we all got that certain friend, that just so happen to know a lot of stuff because their parents was telling them all types of stuff about their ancestry, and they even knew certain things about your own family. So you got that close family, even though your parents didn't hang out with each other like that. They claimed they did, but they didn't. It was the grandparents that moved in there, and then children, dealt with each other, but they really didn't, because they each had their own set of friends, and then they had children, which is my generation, and we grew up together, hanging out and all the other good stuff. So that's basically where that comes from. But even then, as I was growing up, my family was not just on the phone talking to you, talking to your family, and all the other ones who was talking was me and you, or me, you, and a few other people. We all, everybody in that whole little area, all knew each other. But they all kept their distance at the same time, even though we was probably neighbors. And you always have that friend that want to know so much, that just gotta know so much about you. All it, just snooping around like, how the heck you just gonna tell me about myself? Then I figured it out, because like I said, my mother and my father, I was raised by my mother. I wasn't raised by my father. I didn't meet my father till I was like 16 and a half, going on 17 years old. And but I do know my father now. But the whole time, and see, through my mother, I got two brothers. But through my father, I got two brothers and two sisters. And see, the people that I grew up with, going from elementary to middle school to high school, didn't none of them know who my father was. They didn't even know what my father's name was, let alone his children. But I did have a friend that did just happen to know my father's side of the family. He was knowing them a lot longer than I knew. And it all came out, you know what I'm saying? It came to a head too, 'cause I figured it out what happened. But we're not even gonna get into all of that on this video. Might not ever get into it on video. But I'm just saying, it's just one of those situations where, you know, I just had to nip that shit in the bud so it won't go any further than what it already did. Because it comes to find out, on one side they over here they was hanging out with me and dealing with my family, and then on the other side, you know what I'm saying, they was hanging out with my brothers and sister, my brother and sister, and I didn't know it. They knew it, but I didn't. You know, so I'm not even gonna get into all of that. It's a whole big mess. So this is why I'm glad to be able to do my own research and learn about myself and know me. So I have more information about myself than my friend do. You know, even though we're not actually on speaking terms right now. But but the one who's supposed to know me the most is me. The only other person that's supposed to know me like that is my mama. And then outside of my mama is my wife, whoever she is, you know? So, yeah, I'm out here looking for a wife now. I'm 43 years old. You know, a lot of people I have friends that got married years ago. You know, and I sit back and I had to congratulate one of my friends too and let them know like you know, you was one of the smart ones, you know, saying you went and did this, went a whole different direction. You done had two wives now, you know what I'm saying, all this other good stuff. And this is something that I'm trying to get now. I want a wife. Not just some, excuse the way I put it, some hoe off the street. And you know what I'm saying? So that's basically how things are going with me. But anyways, get back into this. Because it's a lot of people out here that sit there trying to tell you all about you and how you sitting there looking at how you gonna tell me about me. Anyways, you say through several stages of analysis and statistical calculation that take genetic and anthropological factors into account, populations that the tested profile is most likely to be genetically linked with become apparent. The populations with an apparent link to the tested profile are indicated by highlighting them in green or yellow, depending on the strength of the link. Let's see what it is. Each population's dot has a shape that indicates which anthropological region it belongs to. Now I'm gonna stop right here and say this real quick, one quick thing, and then we're gonna get back into this, because the reason why it's good to do several DNA tests instead of just taking one, just that one shot, and letting that one company tell you everything is for a reason. You know, because a lot of these companies, they only have so many, they only did so much testing in a certain area. So like the population might have over 1 million people, but they only have genetic information from like 600 people out of 1 million. That doesn't make up the whole line of family that's in that area. It's only a piece of it, a small piece. So you might be missing out on a lot more information that could be coming from that area, and you just don't know. You see, this company GTL DNA, they are they come from the country that basically practically moved into Africa. If that's the way you want to put, they own they got hold of the mummies out of the Egyptian tombs. They all down there studying, doing help Africa and doing all this other stuff. They going on safaris. They're all throughout Africa. Hell, the Queen just gave South America. I mean, it's not South America, South Africa back to the Africans a few years back. You can Google that too. I mean, it's one of those situations to where you just looking at Africa like, wow, how you have fallen. But anyways, let's see. You see, each population. I've read that the populations in the African immigrant, European immigrant, Asian immigrant, and Hispanic immigrant anthropological regions are known as dispersed populations and indicate migration to North America from other native lands. Where possible, they have been placed where they belong in North America. However, with the dispersed populations that appear in the ocean, only this is where tune in at this. Remember, I've been telling you this a few times through this video already. The However, with the dispersed populations that appear in the ocean, only the ethnicities of the people sampled and the fact that they are somewhere in North America is known, not their current specific location. This is what I was telling you. Those are not, it's not just in the ocean, those are islands. The population map has a strength indicator graph on the right side of the poster, where the colors of dots in the population map indicate the strength of each individual population. The bars in the population match strength indicator graph display the overall strength of all the population contained in each matched anthropological region in comparison with other matched regions. About the native region match map and its strength indicator graph, a modified set of analysis and statistical calculations have been performed to identify the so-called native regions of the tested genetic profile. Most people will only have one or two regions. Most people will only have one or two regions. These anthropological regions indicate a more deep roots match than does the population match. And as such, there are no dispersed anthropological regions indicated on this map. If there is more than one match, the strongest match is indicated in green, the rest in yellow. The native region match strength indicator graph displays the strength of the tested profiles. Native region matches in relation with each other. Of course, if there is only one match, there will be only one bar. Understanding migration. This is a short version of it. The other one was a little too long. But anyways, it is not uncommon to find some surprises in your ancestral origins map. One key to understand your unique geogenetic makeup is to understand the history of human migration and how natural migrations along with conquest and discovery have contributed to the mixing of people and nations. Human migration is movement, physical or psychological, by humans from one district to another, sometimes over long distances or in large groups. The movement of populations in modern times has continued under the form of both voluntary migration within one's region, country, or beyond, and involuntary migration, which includes the slave trade, trafficking in human beings, and ethnic cleansing. People who migrate are called migrants, or more specifically, immigrants or settlers, depending on historical settings, circumstances, and perspective. And see, this is what I liked about doing this. You know what I'm saying? Because you have groups out of there. Oh yes, thank you. That what you call it is finally leaving about his head. And you know, so I hate to talk about them. You know what I'm saying? Because they get paid. They get paid. You know what I'm saying? And they do they got a job to do. But at the same time, that stuff stank. that the animal hauler he getting up out of here. Oh wow, I can turn on fresh air now. Get some fresh air pumping back through here. I thought about doing animal hauling and pissing people off for on GP. So, but anyways, depending on historical settings, circumstances, and perspective, and that's basically what I wanted to point out too. You know what I'm saying? Because I was telling a lot of people on the I watched their videos and then I saw where they had questions and then I gave them specific information. Some of them might have took it with a grain of salt. Some of them probably like, get the fuck out of here. I'm not believing none of that nonsense. So I said, okay. So I'm basically like, okay. I even got into a few arguments with some people talking about this and this and this, and I'm like, look, that don't even match what history tells. History gives you a whole different story than the nonsense that you're telling. Oh, and that's another thing because you know what I'm saying? Because I'm ancient Egyptian, which yeah, I get to point that out. A lot of people fell up under from African Americans. They listen to the Nation of Islam. You know what I'm saying? The church don't even want to tell you this information. The Nation of Islam tell you part of the story, but at the same time, we were not Muslims. That Islam stuff came from the Middle East. It didn't originate with black people. But then here's another key point that people don't know about Islam anyway. Islam was originally created to straighten out Christianity. If you research it, you find that out. You got to actually read not just the Bible and think you know the whole story. You got to read the Quran too. The Quran tells you in there. That's the reason why it gives certain instances where we differ, where you have gone astray. You know, they tell you stuff like that in the Quran. But at the same time, it was created to straighten out Christianity. That's the reason why we're having all these wars and all this other stuff going on today between Christianity and Islam. Both theological and actually physically going to war, which is murder, basically. Because Muslims want to straighten out Christians. And Christians said, you ain't straightening out nothing. That's basically but once the Muslims straighten so-called win and straighten out Christianity, they supposed to revert back to Christianity because Christianity is supposed to be straightened out. That's the only reason why Islam was created. But you listen to these Muslims, a lot of them following that and don't even know it. And it tells you right there in their own book, their own holy book. It tells you that. And that's why I couldn't stand there. I said, no, you got it wrong. You telling me I got it wrong, but you got it wrong. That's why you're having this problem in this world right now. You know what I'm saying? Because one trying to overcome the other. But anyways, I'm not even gonna get into that. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, that Islam stuff, it came from the Middle East, over there in Arabia, what is called Iran now, but is originally was called Persia, and several other places too. The land of Chaldea. All, you know what I'm saying? Arab told me once the only difference between an Arab and a Chaldean is that the Chaldean follow Jesus and the Arab follows Allah. That's the only difference. But anyway, I'm gonna get into all of that too as part of the history. Is when we get into where I'm from and all this other stuff too. And I'm gonna explain how the Arabs got into that area. You know, and it's according to what World Book talks about in their encyclopedias. That's how I found out. So a lot of this other information that I started researching, and there's some other stuff that was going on too. Then it started making sense, you know what I'm saying? Because the gypsies and everybody know about what the gypsies are, and all that. They might not know it today because you don't see it on the movies or whatever talked about anymore. But the gypsies, they was traveling bands, and they was going to all these different countries, and you know what I'm saying, and selling their wares and doing all these magic crystal ball readings and all the other good stuff. Yeah, that's what that that's where that came from, out of the Middle East. And really, we gonna get into all that. Just stick with it. Now, this right here, the second page too, that's where you get all my DNA information and all of the other stuff too. And they got the STR DNA profile. See page 10 for additional markers tested about your profile. Your STR profile is a permanent means of individual identification. Unlike a name that may be shared, an identification card number that can be stolen, or photographs that change over time. Your personal DNA identity remains constant from the moment of conception to the end of life. Your profile demonstrates your genetic similarity to family members, as well as the genetic uniqueness that distinguishes you from the rest of the world. Should you or your family need help from a law enforcement agency, such as in search for a missing person due to abduction, accident, or a natural disaster, your profile is fully compatible with the internationally recognized DNA identity standards. You know, then it gives me the locus, normal range, and then it tells you the alleles and all the other good stuff. And see down here where it says African immigrants, it says no. African, yes. Then it's what it say, North African. Then it say North African, yes. But they like to tend to like say North Africans, oh, those are the Arabs. Originally, they weren't Arabs, which I do got family in Arabia, but they were not Arabs. And when I get into all of the other good stuff, you gonna understand why I got family in there, why I got family showing up in Arabia and several other places throughout this world. When I get finished, you gonna understand it all, and then you're gonna be able to look at your own DNA test and figure out exactly what happened to you and your ancestors. You know? So, like I said, just stick with me. Now, on this one, it says the regional affiliation refers to the 15 anthropological regions currently included in the database, the FOG database. The number of population matches refers to the number of databases in the corresponding regional affiliation that rank as good, yellow symbol, or best, green symbol, on your unique map. Individuals that are known or suspected to be multiracial may show a stronger linkage to a particular regional affiliation due to the statistical odds of genetic inheritance. Specific population matches and percentages exist for following regions and appear in the Discovery add-on report. If you did not order the Discovery add-on report, you can upgrade your test at any time. Meaning that's another report that I can order. It only costs about $10, which I'd say no, I'm not gonna get it because I thought this was it, but then it's turned out as something different. I might get the add-on report to go along with this. Have them send that to me too. They say African Group 5A, North African Group 3N, North African Group 2N, African Group 4A, African Group 3A, African Group 2A, African Group 1A, African Immigrants Group 2A, North African Group 1N, and African Immigrants Group 1A. Okay, then it gets into there's page 2. Where's page? This page 3. Then it goes into that was this page right here. Then this is the next page right here. And this is a deoxyribonucleic acid (DNA) is the body's instruction manual for making you who you are. It is present in any living being. It carries all of the instructions for making all of the structures and materials the body needs to function. All of the cells of the individual contain the same DNA, essentially creating a specific identity for that individual. DNA is established at conception and does not change throughout your life. You receive one half of your DNA from your mother and one half from your father. DNA is what allows for the transmission of genetic material from one generation to the next. Historical migration. Ancestral origins was designed to address a unique question common to us all. Where would my DNA profile most likely be found in the world today? For your convenience, we present additional information related to historical human migration to aid you in your journey of discovery, which is this right here. Historical migration of human. I think that's where it's the same thing right over there too. You know, I'm not gonna get into all of that. The islands of the Pacific expansion. Then you got the migrations to the New Worlds, early migrations. You probably don't want to get into all of that. So we're gonna switch over to Pacific expansion, Neolithic revolution, Eurasian expansion, and Bantu expansion. You got all these different expansions and everything, but this is not what you really came here for. What you came here for was to see my DNA. For all those that actually care to know. Then back to Africa, humanity's forgotten migration from the Middle East and beyond. So that's basically what you get out of this report here. Now, which one is it? What I want to get into here is I gotta go back to the download section and then pull up the first one, which is the DNA test for ancestry, Shannon L. Clements, and it shows my haplogroup and everything. I don't know. I'm trying to get it to where you can actually see it without all the glare. See it say Shannon Clements. There we go. Shannon Clements, haplogroup E1B1A. Then it get into the description of it right down here and all this other good stuff. And basically what it tells you, it says my case, this is my paternal lineage. Trying to get it where you can see it. So much light. Okay, there we go. It might just be because like I said, my what you call it. Let's see if this helps. Paternal lineage report E1B1A. And then I'll give you each section. You can go ahead and pause it if you want to and look at it. There's the paternal lineage report. My paternal lineage report is haplogroup E1B1A, time of origin 15 to 20,000 years ago. Place of origin, West Africa. Description: haplogroup E1B1A is the most common Y haplogroup in sub-Saharan Africa, and it is also found in many African Americans. It is a subgroup of haplogroup E, one of the oldest branches of the human family tree. Then it gives you all my Y strand, STR, and all the other good stuff. Then you got this in it, this right here. Haplogroup E, one of the oldest branches of the human family tree. Haplogroup E is estimated to have arisen 50 to 55,000 years ago. During this time, two waves of human migrations out of Africa have taken place. The first followed a coastal route that eventually led to Australia. The second followed a northern route to the Western Asia, and this group gave rise to majority of non-Africans today. So my group basically was where the change about was happening, and and that's where a lot of these other groups came from, basically. Caucasian, Chinese, Arab, all that good stuff. I hate that it's doing all this flipping around on me. Haplogroup E's place of origin is unclear at the time of this report. East Africa is considered highly likely because of the concentration and variety of this haplogroup in the area today. Some scientists believe there is evidence that it may have arisen in Asia, where its sister branch, haplogroup D, is found, and has introduced to Africa through a back migration through the eastern shores of the Mediterranean Sea. Damn it, it flipped on me again. Gotta read it sideways because that's the way they got it. Within Africa, haplogroup E is very common and widespread. It consists of three main branches within Africa: E1A, E1B, and E2. E1A and E2 are found exclusively in Africa, while E1B, which is dominated by its sub-branch E1B1, is the subgroup to which most non-Africans who belong to haplogroup E belong. Did you hear what it just got finished saying? It consists of three main branches: E1A, E1B, and E2. E1A and E2 are found exclusively in Africa. Exclusively in Africa. It's Africa, period. While E1B, which is dominated by its sub-branch E1B1, is the subgroup to which most non-Africans who belong to haplogroup E belong. And this is why I have so many relatives in multiple cultures. Because I'm part of the E1B, which was E1B1A. And just got to tell you, E1B is basically where everything started changing over from African to Chinese here, or European here, or European or Caucasian there, Italian here, or my branch was basically where all the rest of them came from: Arab, Mexican, South American. A lot of people don't like to hear that, but it is true. I'm part of the branch where all the rest of these people came from. You're arguing with the geneticist, not me. I'm just telling you what the geneticist just got finished telling. Now, E1B1 gave rise to E1B1B around 24 to 27,000 years ago, and the E1B1A 10,000 years later. E1B1B is the third most common haplogroup in Europe. E1B1B is the third most common in Europe. Let's see, where was I at? It is also common among Ethiopians, Somalis, Eritreans, and North African Berbers. Oh, is that lightning? Yeah. Anyways, I don't see that certain type of cloud anymore, so I'm not too disturbed by it now. Yeah, it's about to thunderstorm around here. You see, Somali, North Africans, Berbers, and Arabs. And it is also common in Southwest Asia, from where it spread into the Balkans and the rest of Europe. In a study of Jewish male lineages, it was found that haplogroups E1B1B is a founding lineage to the Ashkenazi Jews, translated German Jews, who are estimated to make up about 80% of the Jewish population worldwide. The German Jews, or the Jews, the ones that went through the Holocaust. The same thing that Adolf Hitler was a part of, but denounced because he wanted to create the Aryan nation. blonde haired, blue eyed, excuse me, people as the master race, which is part of why we had World War II because of him. And him basically hating his own people. And and I'm gonna shock the mess out of some of these people out here too. But anyways, let's see. E1B1A, on the other hand, is the single most common Y haplogroup in sub-Saharan Africa, being exclusively associated with the West, Central, South, and Southeastern Africans. It is found among African slave descendants in the Americas and the Caribbean. E2 is currently present among sub-Saharan Africans in both West and East Africa, with the highest concentration found among South African and Kenyan Bantus. Famous people who belong to haplogroup E include William Harvey, a famous English physician who was the first in the Western world to describe systematic circulation, the process by which blood is carried away from the heart into the body and back into the heart. Also, the Wright brothers, Wilbur and Orville, who are credited with building the world's first successful airplanes, belong to this haplogroup. They all belong to the specific branch E1B1B. So basically, that lets you know I'm kin to who. A lot of people don't want to acknowledge that one. But anyways, we're gonna stop there and then go to the maternal. That was the end of that one. DNA test for ancestry, Shannon Clements. Ain't that I gotta turn it around like that. You can see it right there. But anyways, you see it. Haplogroup. My haplogroup for the maternal lineage is L1C. As a matter of fact, if I can, I'm gonna try to put screenshots in periodically. If I gotta figure out how to do it. Maternal lineage report. Haplogroup L1C. Time of origin 100,000 years ago. Place of origin West Africa. Description. L1C occurs among the Bantu speakers in West and Central Africa and is rarely found in Eastern and Southern Africa. It probably originated among peoples in the Atlantic coast and Western Equatorial Africa. Then haplogroup L, mitochondrial DNA. Haplogroup L is the principal African haplogroup and the most ancient of all human haplogroups. It's the most ancient of all haplogroups. This haplogroup is believed to have arisen approximately 170,000 years ago in Eastern Africa, the presumed homeland of all modern humans. Haplogroup L is further subdivided into two major branches: L0, which is present only in a very small population today, and a branch that serves as a common ancestor of subgroups L1 through 6. The L0 branch originated 90,000 to 150,000 years ago. Dang it. Let's see, where is that? Where is it? And spread to southern Africa. Branches L1 through L6 spread through northern Africa. L1 through L6 spread through northern Africa. And they said that I'm what? L1, northern Africa. And both male and female, or in other words, the father and the mother, both ended up in North Africa. When it comes to my DNA, I can't speak for everybody else's or all the rest of the African Americans, and I'm gonna tell you why in a minute. But let me finish this up. Haplogroup L is further that, L1 originated in Eastern Africa 140,000 years ago and has since spread to Western and Central Africa. Two of its subgroups, L1B and L1C, are common among African Americans today. Tracing the slave trade route back to coastal Angola, the Congo Basin, and other regions associated with the slave trade. L2, which is found in one-third of sub-Saharan Africans, is also common among African Americans. It comprises subgroups L2A and L2D. The main group itself originated 95,000 years ago, but became predominant in Africa only starting 4,000 years ago during the Bantu expansion. During that period, L2A split into L2A1A and L2A1B, which went on to populate southeastern Africa, where it is found to at high concentrations, particularly in Mozambique. L2D, on the other hand, settled in Western Africa and remains there at a very small frequency compared to other subgroups. It is found in the peoples of Equatorial Guinea, Mauritania, and Senegal. DNA evidence shows that L3 gave rise to haplogroups M and N some 50,000 to 65,000 years ago, which gave rise to the bulk of non-African genetic diversity present in the modern world. Currently, the L0 subgroup is found in a small group of people who are remnants of Africa's oldest cultural group, the Khoisan, also known as the Bushmen. The term Khoisan is actually a conjugation of the tribal names for the Koko herdsmen and the San hunter-gatherers who coexisted in southern Africa approximately 90,000 years ago. The term Khoisan also applies to a haplogroup of languages indigenous to southern and eastern Africa that do not belong to other language families, following a pattern similar to the DNA evidence that language families split off from the human language family tree, developing distinct characteristics such as complex click consonants. Many people were exposed to a Khoisan language through the actor in XAU in the 1980 film The Gods Must Be Crazy. And that's that for them. Now, to get to what you wanted to see, which was the DNA map. And I'm gonna explain a few things about this DNA map too. It has to be explained. This is the magic map that I ordered. Paid all that money for. Ancestral origins. See what it's prepared for? It said prepared exclusively for Shannon L. Clements. Not my brothers, not my sisters, not my cousins. It's prepared for me. Because the funny thing about my family, when it comes to me, my brothers and my sisters, on my mother's side, my two brothers that I have, we all got different fathers. I have one older brother and one younger brother. I'm the middle child. On my father's side, I got two brothers and two sisters. I got an older brother and an older sister. Well, me and my older sister is practically the same age. We're only like 2.5 months apart. We was born 2.5 months apart. And so basically what I'm saying is when it comes to her, she just barely makes being called older by 2.5 months. But anyway, but at the same time, she was born before me, so therefore she's my older sister. And I have a younger brother and I have a younger sister. And see, on that, what makes it funny, because on that side, my father's side, I'm the exact middle child too. So I get it. You know how they say the middle child gets it the worst? Well, yeah, I'm the exact middle child on both my mother and my father's side. And so that's basically what's happening there. And see, on my father's side, my younger brother, we all share the same father, but my older brother, my older sister, and my younger brother got a different mother than me. And then my youngest sister has a different mother from all of us. You know, say my father was busy. I say he got about 5 kids. You know, it should have been 6, but my little sister, twin, died at birth. So that's basically what happened there. But I got this ancestral origins map. It tells you the strength indicators and all this other stuff. You know, basically it said the native region match. Remember I read that earlier? That's the reason why I had to read all that information and explain it to you so you understand the map. The native region match, Africa. The best is basically south, but then they got the northern part in yellow. Then you got the strength, what is called the bar graph, which is the strength indicators. That's the strength indicators. It's basically telling you the best is green, the next best is yellow, and then you got the red part, which it say is, what did it say on here? Oh no, in this one where it said red, you can pause it and go back and whatever. And it said red was African, North African, Middle Eastern. You see, right here. On this part of the map, got to flip around and everything. It says the red is African. The purple is North. The purple is North African. The purple is North African, and then the small little yellow section is Middle Eastern. And then on the second part, that's the native region match. The above strength indicators. Then you have this one right here with the second part of the second bar graph. Then you have that second here. Don't worry, I'm gonna get it straightened out so you see it. You got that second graph, the second bar graph. That second bar graph is the population match, as to where the yellow is African immigrants. It's African immigrants, and as you can see, it's showing that I have a strong indicator for African immigrants. And then the Middle Eastern part is the blue. I just had already. The blue is Middle Eastern. It's hard to see because you got all this glare and all the other stuff. There you go. The blue is Middle Eastern. The green is African. And then you got the red, which is North African. And then, of course, you got the actual map itself. You might want to pause this part so you can actually read it. Because each one of those shapes is basically telling you something different. And then you have the actual map itself. See, you got a lot of red up there, and they got a lot of red. You got a lot of red all over the place. The red is supposed to be little to no match at all. Which, like I said, I had to stop a long time ago and explain a few things. And I'm going to explain why you see that red there. And why, where they telling you one thing, it really means something completely different. They're just not telling you this. When you do your own research. You got the rest of the map as well. Now, I'm not going to sit here and hold this map up and talk to you about all this other stuff. But yeah, it basically shows in Northern Africa, on this map in Northern Africa, as you can see, I got a lot of yellow, but I have a few green there too, and I have a little red. And then southern parts, it got more connections up here in the northern tip of Africa than it do anywhere down here in the rest of Africa. Even though I got a couple of greens down there, but I got greens up here as well. On top of yellows. So that lets you know that about Africa. And then I got a couple of sections. See, somebody thought I was lying when this is South America. You see all that red, and then you see a yellow at the very top, and then over here on the left, you see a yellow over there too. Then a lot down in Mexico, you see a lot of red and all this other stuff. Then you see where this map shows. You see off in the oceans and waters and all the other stuff. If you get an actual map, if you go to Google and get an actual map of that region and you pull it in, that's where you start seeing Barbados. Yes, I'm part of Barbados. I'm from Barbados. I'm from I got family in Barbados. I got family down in those all of them Philippines. What else you call that? Cuba. all of that stuff. I got family all down through there. Then you got North America over here, where you got a lot of red, and then you got it's mostly yellow in North America, and you got a couple of places that are green. How you gonna sit there? Somebody would sit there and say I'm lying, but how you gonna lie with the map? Lie to the map. The map is literally showing you this. And then when you go over here to India, you go to India, you got a lot of red up in there. And you even look at Japan and all these other places, you see red up in there too. But then you have up there in Russia and the UK right up in here. Russia, UK, and all the other stuff. You even see right there, right red, almost smack dab in the middle of Russia. It's a red spot in there. It's a red spot in there. And then I want to keep it still so you can see it for yourself. What I got to lie for. Now a lot of people want to exclude the red. And see, I'm about to show you something different. Because now I'm about to get into my other DNA test, which is going to be a lot shorter than what all the information that I went through GTL DNA. I already showed you the website for CRI genetics or cryogenetics, whatever, however you want to say it. But I want to go ahead. I want to log in. Put in my login information. Put in my login information. Sign in. Oh wow, I just realized I'm at an hour and 47 minutes. So I guess down in there I'll say about an hour 15, hour 20. I went through all the information, all the other information, so you have a good understanding of what you're actually seeing. And see, this is basically what you see when you get onto CRI genetics. You see that says Shannon Clements. That's my kit number. Then you got ancestry. Then you had the view reports for the recent analysis. That's the recent analysis. It tells you recent ancestry analysis. I'm not changing anything. I just went through it. You can see for yourself. Recent ancestry analysis. That's it right there. Then you see the map. Now I'm going to go ahead and say, based on the latest genetic research available, this recent ancestry report represents your last 5 generations, my last 5 generations. This analysis is based on the genetic makeup currently found most abundant in each of the specific geographic regions. This report should closely match what your parents and grandparents may have told you about your heritage. I'm gonna stop right here. Because remember when I was telling you about the problem that I had, you know what I'm saying, with one of my friends, and him claiming that he knows so much about me and all this other stuff. My mother, grandmother, on neither side, I didn't meet my other grandparents until after I went down there. I met them around when I was late 20s. They didn't tell me nothing about my family other than a lot of the people that I was related to, you know what I'm saying, and I ran into a lot of other people out there that had the same last names as some of the people that's in my family. I'm not saying who it is, but you know, we not gonna get into all of that right now. It's a whole another ordeal, and that's where all that opened up at. But then I had on my mother's side, they didn't tell me nothing either. And see, when you growing up as a child and your parents not telling you nothing, then you know what I'm saying, it's got to be something there that's going on that just wasn't too right. And so now here it is. I had to do my own research because wasn't nobody telling me nothing. And now they can't tell me nothing anymore. Nothing. So I had to go figure it out, and I still got a couple of DNA tests that I need to take because there's a little something else that's going on that somebody, they just don't like being related to black people. I joke with them about it, but you know, we're not gonna get into all of that, you know, who they are and all the other good stuff too, you know. So they're just in those prominent positions that you know they don't want to be bothered with people. They just don't want to be bothered with people. I'm not gonna go chasing behind, bugging either. Let them go. No matter whether you black, white, Puerto Rican, or Haitian, you don't want to be dealing with me. It's fine with me. Go. I really don't care anymore. It's good to know this information and know who I'm related to, but at the same time, let it go. That really looks bad right there. I'm feeling bad about doing this video and where I caught myself trying to shave it down a little bit so it wouldn't be so bushy. Turned out I went a little too far. I'm just gonna have to walk around looking crazy like that until it grow back in. Give it about a week, it'll grow back in. But anyways, oh well, was I? I was explaining how is a lot of stuff that's on here. Now you see it on the map. It had it all in red and all this other good stuff. That's through GTL DNA. They're from the UK. This is why I might have to do a whole nother DNA test. Just like I'm gonna have to go through China because the Chinese has been complaining a whole lot, and I mean a whole lot, about these genetic tests that's being done because they're not testing the actual populations in China. Some of them do, but some of them don't. And a lot of people are getting all this other information, but they're not finding about their own Chinese heritage. You know, and so basically, but this right here, it shows it in Africa. You see how this is the recent DNA. You see how it shows up in Africa, but it's down here, way down here in Africa. I didn't want it to blow up like that, because I want you to see it. But then you have those other locations You see how it's in Africa? It shows in Africa. But then up above Africa, what is all of that up there in Africa? Above Africa. It's not even a part of the African continent. What is all of this up here? You notice how on the map it is all in red? Thank you, CRI Genetics, for telling me the rest of the story that GTL DNA wouldn't tell. But at the same time, GTL DNA told me some information that CRI Genetics didn't tell me. And based on some of the information I've seen going through all of these other DNA tests like 23andMe and Ancestry, well, you get the point. You pay for it, not me. But all I'm going to do is I'm not changing nothing. It's still the exact same way, everything. All I'm going to do is scroll up. That's all I'm going to do is scroll. Wow. On my recent Ancestry. Now, note, I'm going to let you know now I got both the male and the female. Or in other words, I got the father and the father. The father and the mother. DNA testing. Now, but you see what shows up right here? European. 57.60% European. What I got to lie for? African. 31.20%. Then you got the West Indies. 11.20%. And then automatically, automatically, you see what that says? Italy is automatically opened up. Italy. You see what it say down there? Right there. You're 26.8% Italian. Or 26.8% Italian. Wow. That's amazing. Your ancestors in this region were famous for the Renaissance. There are many distinct cultural qualities of Italy that have helped shape world history, but the Renaissance is widely considered one of the brightest golden ages in human history, and it started in Italy. Arts, sciences, and philosophy flourished as great ideas quickly spread throughout all of Europe and changed the course of world history. Then it goes down through there and talk about Europe has been inhabited by modern humans for the last 40,000 years. Italy in particular provided a temporary refuge for humans during the ice ages, and most of the rest of Europe was covered in ice. The Alpine Mountains and Mediterranean Sea provided barriers that limited migration to and from Italy and the rest of the world, which helped forge a unique genetic identity for people with Italian ancestry. There is genetic evidence of some migrations, as northern Italians tend to be more genetically similar to French and German populations. Now, if you go back to that map, I blip in Germany too. But anyway, yeah, we going there. Populations, while southern Italians tend to be more genetically similar to Balkan and Greek populations. Italians from central Italy tend to blur the genetic borders between north and south, but may also be descended from Etruscans, who are believed to have migrated from Turkey and the Middle East. To have migrated from Turkey and the Middle East. We're about to go there. Give me a moment. Migrations from Greece and Turkey had the largest impact on the culture and future genetic heritage of Italy, an impact that then affected the rest of Western civilization. According to legend, Rome was founded by Romulus and Remus, who believed to be descended from Aeneas, a member of the Trojan royal family who fled Troy when the Greeks sacked the city. Whether there is any fact to this myth or not, it is evidence of the Greek Etruscan influence on Roman culture, as Troy is believed to have been in Turkey. Roman governance, religion, and architecture were all heavily influenced by their Greek predecessors. At its peak, the Roman Empire spread throughout almost all of Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. And laid the foundation of Western civilization. And so for each one of these, you got Italy showing up automatically. Go to European. Now for the European, it breaks down. Let's see, this is where you get into the percentages. You got 57.60% for a European. First one is Italy at 28.6 at 26.80%. That's more than a quarter. But it said within the past 5 generations, so that gives me, my father, my grandfather. So it had to come in great grandfather and great great grandfather. Somewhere around there, they was mixed with Italian, and I got Italian in me. So now you got Germany, which is 11%. Then you got British Isles, 9.3%, 30%. Then you got Southern Central Slavic, which is 8%. Southern Central Slavic, 8%. Then you got Spain at 1.30%. And then you got French at 1.20%. French. Yeah, we about to get into it. Let me put that back up. Now we get into the African part. This is all within the past 5 generations. This is the recent analysis I'm giving you right now. It has a whole lot of other information that I'm going to show you based on what CRI genetics gives you. Now, as far as African, that started off at what, 31.20%. Then you got the Yoruba people at 9.60%. Then you got the Isan people at 8%. Then you got the Mende people at 6.10%. Then you have the Gambians at 1.50%, 1.5%. They bring that up. Then you got the West Indies, African Caribbeans, African Caribbeans. Now I went back up to the what's European. I tapped on the Germany for 11. Says that Germany is the current home to one of the most influential groups of people in the history and genetic makeup of northwestern Europe. This region was first settled by humans as far back as 45,000 years ago. At that time, vast glaciers during the last ice age limited migration. Those glaciers began to retreat roughly 20,000 years ago, and by about 10,000 BCE, human settlements expanded to settle newly habitable regions of Europe. Since then, Germany and the rest of the northwestern Europe have seen near constant human migrations, both peaceful and violent, that are both culturally diverse and genetically related. Despite Germany's name today, Germanic cultures actually originated in Scandinavia. I've seen a lot of people who was wondering about. They said, "Well, I got Slavic and Scandinavia and all this other. Where? How did that? Germany?" They said it originated in Scandinavia. Celtic cultures were the first to dominate the region known as Germany today. Celtic, that's the Irish. Let's see, where was I? Celtic culture is known as Germany today. While many people associated Celtic cultures with Ireland and Scotland, Celtic cultures are believed to have originated in Austria, way down at the top, bottom where Australia and all that, Austria, and spread outward from there as far back as 2,500 years ago. Celtic cultures dominated Germany and many other regions of Western Europe. Around the same time that the Roman Empire rose to power, Germanic cultures spread southward out of Scandinavia and into Germany. The combination of Roman and Germanic expansion pushed many of the Celtic cultures into the regions of Ireland and Scotland that we associate them with today. Now we're really getting into it. Because it's talking about all the stuff, how all this stuff mixing started happening and everything. Yeah. Germanic culture has flourished ever since, especially after the collapse of the Roman Empire, when Germanic tribes swept across almost all of Western Europe. While the Romans failed to conquer the Germans, German culture was still influenced by the Romans. Many German tribes converted to Christianity based on Roman influence, and Germany was eventually the primary territory of the Holy Roman Empire of the Middle Ages. Excuse me, not Middle East, Middle Ages. During this period of Germany history, and for several centuries after the fall of the Holy Roman Empire, the leaders of Germany and Austria called themselves Kaisers, which is a direct derivative of the Roman emperor title of Caesar. Due to near constant migration throughout all of human history, people with German history can be found in almost every corner of the world. Almost everyone with European ancestry is likely to have at least a trace of German DNA. And then I sit back and look at all of these Aryan nation people. I look them right in the eye and listen to you say all these things, and I'm looking at you like you. I'm part German myself, you know. Then the next one down is British Isles. The British Isles. The British Isles were first settled by modern humans as far back as 12,000 years ago during the end of the last ice age. Once upon a time, Great Britain was connected to the European mainland by a land bridge known as Doggerland. When the ice sheet covering Europe receded, this frozen bridge eventually submerged into the waters currently known as the Northern Sea and English Channel. Since the first human settlements 12,000 years ago, I'm gonna talk a little. I might throw a little scientific evidence in there too. You know what I'm saying? We're dealing with where it says that when the ice melted and the land bridge covered up by water. Yeah, I might throw that in there at the very end of this video of what I believe is really going on. That the scientists today, I brought it to their attention, but they just haven't acknowledged it yet. Let's see, where was that? When the ice sheet covered Europe receded, this frozen bridge eventually submerged into the waters currently known as the North Sea and English Channel. Since the first human settlements 12,000 years ago, the United Kingdom and Republic of Ireland have produced some of the most complex genetic and cultural histories of any nations of the world. The people who first settled the British Isles eventually evolved into several Celtic tribes by 2500 BCE. Before Romans began invading England and Wales in 54 BCE, spreading Roman culture and genes throughout those regions. They got a whole long, it's like they really went to work on this one. When it comes to the British. The people who first settled the British Isles eventually evolved into several Celtic tribes by 2500 BC before Romans began invading England and Wales in 54 BCE, spreading Roman culture and genes throughout those regions. The Romans were unable to conquer the northern regions of Great Britain, such as Scotland, leaving Celtic tribes able to preserve their culture and overall genetic makeup. Roman rule in Great Britain collapsed by 41 CE as Anglo-Saxons flooded the region, spreading a Germanic influence and significantly altering the culture and genetic makeup of the land. I'm not about to read all of that. Well, you get the point. Then you got this Southern Central Slavic. It's a small piece. The first historical mention of Slavic people dates back to Roman expansion in Eurasia, but Slavs are believed to have occupied much of Eurasia long before then. There were many Slavic migrations throughout the centuries under Roman and Byzantine rule. These historical migrations made it so that Slavic people were split into three subgroups by 600 AD: West Slavs, East Slavs, and South Slavs. The ancestry of South Slavs is primarily tied. Another one of those. He actually carried. I think he carried cows. They put that circulation on there quick. I don't want to smell none of that. Including Bulgaria, Croatia, and Serbia, just to name a few. While centuries of Byzantine and Ottoman rulers have played a significant role in shaping South Slavic culture, Southern Slavs have held on to a unique genetic identity. You got Spain. The Iberian Peninsula was first settled by modern humans about 40,000 years ago. Yeah. Following the Mediterranean coast from southern France. By 3000 BCE, several ancient cultures were thriving in Spain that were fairly advanced compared to other Copper and Bronze Age cultures at the time. This gets down up in there too. Let's see, one, two, three, four, five paragraphs. I'm not about to read all that. When the Iron Age started around 2,800 years ago, the cultures on the Iberian Peninsula were primarily Celtic. However, the Iron Age brought an influx of immigrants from the Phoenician, Greek, and Carthaginian civilizations who were founding vast trade networks all over the Mediterranean. Migrations from Mediterranean civilizations played the most significant role in shaping the genetic and cultural makeup that we see in Spain today. In fact, the name Iberia was coined by Greeks, who named the region after the Ebro River in Spain. The Roman Empire first invaded Spain in 218 BCE and conquered the Iberian Peninsula after 2 centuries of war, with the remaining Carthaginians and Celtic tribes. The Romans renamed the region Hispania and ruled over it for half a century, further cementing the Mediterranean legacy. After the collapse of the Roman Empire, the Iberian Peninsula saw invasions from Germanic tribes and the Islamic Moors of North Africa. Despite today's dominance of Catholicism in the region, evidence of this historical melting pot can be seen in the overall Spanish genome, as many people with Spanish ancestry also have North African and Jewish ancestors. Then you get to France. Where you get to say bonjour. Bonjour. Je m'appelle Shannon. Comment allez-vous? France was first settled by humans as far back as 45,000 years ago. At that time, vast glaciers during the last ice age limited migration. Those glaciers began to retreat roughly 20,000 years ago, and by about 10,000 BCE, human settlements expanded to settle newly habitable regions of Europe, such as Scandinavia. Since then, France has been near constant human migrations, both peaceful and violent, that is both culturally diverse and genetically related. Celtic cultures were among the first to arise in France. While many people associate Celtic cultures with Ireland and Scotland, Celtic cultures are actually believed to have originated in Austria and spread outward from there, as far back as 25. Well, we already read all of that other stuff. So now we get into the African. Go to the Yoruba tribe. Hold on. So as the Roman Empire rose to power, France was called Gaul, Gaul. Roman invasions pushed most of the Celtic cultures out of France and into the regions of Ireland and Scotland that we associate them with today. And when the Roman Empire fell, Germanic tribes swept across northwestern Europe until Frankish rulers rose to power in France, a new culture of blended Roman Celtic. Oh yeah, I was going to Africa, the Yoruba people. Possible related countries of origin include Yoruba people. There you go. Thank you. Here we go. Nigeria, Niger, Chad, Cameroon, Benin. I heard a lot of people call Benin Benin. I laugh, I laugh, but I said, nah, they don't understand. The I is got that little long that line across the top of it, which makes it pronounce it. You know what I'm saying? With a long name, long pronunciation to it. Ni, like Neen, Ni, Benin. But a lot of people call it Benin, like Benin. I was like, you got to throw the old word up. All right, I'm trying to get it to where you can read it. Like I said, it got a lot of glare on it. There we go. Togo, Ghana, Ivory Coast, and Portugal. 9 areas. Not was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It said the Yoruba are an African ethnic group that originated in what is now Nigeria. There are about 44 million Yoruba, making them one of the largest ethnic groups on the continent. They are renowned for their sculptures and cuisine. Traditional beliefs follow a pantheon of different gods sent by a creator god, Olorun. For Yoruba Christians and Muslims, the name Olorun is used to signify Yahweh or Allah. The Yoruba people maintain a long oral tradition of their history. The first documents written about them date back to the 17th century CE from the Oyo Empire. The first archaeological evidence for the Yoruba stems from the 4th century BCE at Ile-Ife. Ile-Ife. I might have just tore that word up. It's ILE and then it's IFE. Dash IFE. The Yoruba stems from the 4th. The Yoruba claims that the gods descended from the heavens at Ile-Ife. According to legend, the gods started their civilization there. Archaeologists have uncovered advanced structures in Ile-Ife dating to the 12th century CE. This was right around the time that Oyo Empire began. The Oyo Empire held substantial power during the 17th and 18th century and was able to assert influence over its neighbors. It maintained its powers by trading the Portuguese merchants, by trading with Portuguese merchants. They exchanged goods and slaves for Portuguese guns. The Oyo Empire served as a middleman for the transatlantic slave trade. They sold criminals, captives, and subjugated people to Europeans. But the Oyo Empire grew complacent and fell into civil war in 1793. This civil war led to its demise in 1835. What remained of the Oyo Empire was obliterated by the Fulani Empire in 1836. The British came along later to colonize the region in the early 1900s and formed what is now Nigeria. So it originally wasn't even called Nigeria, it was called Oyo. The British gave it the name Nigeria. The Yoruba people have seen two major diasporas. The first diaspora was during the transatlantic slave trade. Many Yoruba captives and criminals were sold to Europeans for transport to the New World during the 17th and 18th centuries. The second diaspora came after political upheaval in the 1960s and 80s in Nigeria. This diaspora largely went to the United Kingdom and the United States. In the U.S., this group settled in Maryland, New York, and New Jersey. Mhm. The next people, Esan people, possible related countries of origin include Nigeria, Benin, Togo, England, and Portugal. England? England? Hmm. The Esan people are an ethnic group located in southern Nigeria. Their language, Esan, is taught to children and is broadcast on radio and television. My truck about to go through the region. It's going to get a little loud for a little bit. Many scholars and archaeologists believe that the Esan came from people to the north. This is because the Esan share cultural and linguistic similarities with their northern neighbors, the Edom. The traditional symbol of the Esan people is a crow's foot tribal scar below their eyes. The Esan people appeared in Africa in the 1500s before colonization and Europeans. Colonization by Europeans. It is likely that they descended from the Nok people, an Iron Age culture that lived 1500 BCE to 300 BCE. The Nok grew yams, palms, and vegetables, but also engaged in hunting and gathering. The Nok's children built advanced walls, moats, and buildings after 300 CE. That's much better than just call them hunter gatherers. They formed several nations, including the Benin Kingdom, where Oba Iwuar, 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 king of Benin, passed very restrictive laws. It's spelled Ewuar. Iwuar. Okay, king of Benin passed very restrictive laws. The Isan people broke away. In so doing, they formed Isan land. In Benin, the language of the Benin, Isan means they who have fled. The Isan and the Benin Empire warred many times, but the Benin Empire won most of these conflicts. During the 1800s, the Isan people faced threats from many sides. First came the Muslim Nupe people, who sought slaves and converts. Then, in the late 1890s, the British annihilated the Benin Kingdom. A few years later, the Brits came back for Isan land. The Isan fought a guerrilla war with the British, but lost in 1906. All 34 Isan kingdoms became part of Britain's Ishan division. They gained sovereignty from British rule in 1960 when Nigeria gained its independence. Today, Isan society is mostly agrarian. It suffers from poverty, lack of infrastructure, and infighting. A large percentage of the Isan are Christians, but they have also held on to many traditional beliefs. The British. You see why you have to read all of this stuff down up in there so you can understand why I have British in. But I'm going to take it back a little further than that. Then you get the Mindi. Mindi people. Possible related countries of origin include Sierra Leone. I'm not about to spend all that time trying to turn this into what you call Sierra Leone, Guinea, Liberia, and Britain. Britain. Origins Britain, but they're African people, but they originated in Britain. The Mende people, or Mende, are a major ethnic group in Sierra Leone. They are a subset of the Mende peoples and live in the southern and eastern portions of Sierra Leone. The Mende language is also widely spoken in Liberia. The Mende believe that all human knowledge and power passes through secret societies. They founded two distinct secret societies under this belief. Poro is the secret society for men and initiates boys into manhood. Sendi is the secret society for women and initiate girls into womanhood. The Sendi engage in female genital mutilation and face harsh criticism for this practice. Female the genital mutilation. Men and women are forbidden from sharing what they learn in their secret societies to people outside the group. They cannot share this information with people of the opposite sex in their tribe. In Mende tradition, women hold a remarkable amount of power. They frequently hold positions as war leaders and chiefs. They are one of the few pre-industrial societies that recognizes women as equal to men. Pregnancy is not seen as a sign of weakness like it might be in other cultures. Instead, it is seen as a sign of strength to give birth, much like it was in ancient Sparta. Traits such as long, thick hair are also seen as signs of strength. The Mende people, from whom the Mende descended, originated in central Saharan Africa around 3000 BCE. They developed agriculture without outside influence. The Mende formed some of the largest and most powerful societies in Africa, including the Mali Empire, the Songhai Empire, and the Ghana Empire. They started the practice of secret societies around 1000 BCE, and the Mende continued the practice. Secret societies. Wow. Luya people. Luya. Luya people. The Luya are saying the possible related countries of origin include Kenya, Sudan, Ethiopia, Egypt, Somalia, Uganda, Tanzania, England. You keep running it out to all these United Kingdom countries, talking about areas of origin in Africa. Hmm. The Luya are a subset of the Bantu people, located in western Kenya. They constitute 16% of Kenya's total population, or 5.3 million people. The Luya make up 18 different tribes and share many similarities with the Kisi people to the southwest. Anthropologists and Luya legends disagree on the origin of the Luya. Anthropologists believe that the Luya originated from the final Bantu expansion in 1000 BCE. This final expansion came from Central and Western Africa. Mitochondrial DNA from the Luya and Bantu suggests a Western African origin. Mm. However, Luya legend states that the Luya actually came from a place they called Misri. Misri corresponds to the kingdom of Egypt. Ancient Hebrew and Aramaic also refers to Egypt as Misra. Egyptians call it Masr. The name comports with other languages which would suggest Eastern African descent. So, in other words, the Africans is in there telling these anthropologists like we originated in Egypt. And somebody that I was talking to, she owes me a little thanks. But anyways, because this is 2 hours 35 minutes. This is I told you from the beginning this is gonna be a long video because I'm getting very thorough with all of this stuff. Before colonization by Europeans, the Luya defined their boundaries by shared culture. Thus, their borders were much more fluid when compared to traditional European borders. The most powerful kingdom in Kenya at the time was founded by the Wanga, a Luya tribe. When European nations began their scramble to colonize Africa, most of Eastern Africa went to the British. The British subdivided Eastern Africa into what is now Kenya and Uganda. And see, I'm going to stop right there because that's the reason why I look at the people in Sudan. They are proud. They want to have, I mean, they literally desire more than African ancestry. They desire Middle Eastern ancestry because that's what's ruling up there in the southern, northern tip of Africa right now. But we're going to go there. Give me a little bit more time. In Uganda, naturally, some of the Luya people were not thrilled about this turn of events. Hold on, let me start back. When European nations began their scramble to colonize Africa, most of Eastern Africa went to the British. The British subdivided Eastern Africa into what is now Kenya and Uganda. Naturally, some of the Luya people were not thrilled about this turn of events. There were violent uprisings against the colonial rulers, but the British maintained power until Kenya gained independence in 1963. Since then, Kenya has slowly transitioned into a democratic state. The Luya people, the Gambians, possible related countries of origin include Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Mali, England, again England, and Portugal. The Republic of the Gambia is the smallest country in Africa and is located next to the Gambia River. It is surrounded on almost all sides by Senegal, and its western border lies along the Atlantic Ocean. The Gambia's economy is primarily made up of farming, fishing, and tourism. Modern Gambia faces political instability because of repeated insurrections and coup attempts. Arab traders wrote the first records about the region in the 9th and 10th centuries. These traders traveled the trans-Saharan trade route. They brought gold, livestock, and slaves along with their camels. Along with their camels. Remember when I was talking about gypsies? They're the caravanners. They went into other countries, did trade, they crystal balls and all the other good stuff. Yeah. Now you see where that came in at, but it goes back a little bit further. We gonna go there too. So just give me a little bit more time. I'm just trying to get through all this history. In the 13th century, the Mali Empire formed and included what is now Gambia. The Mali Empire was renowned for its vast wealth. It became wealthy by controlling the flow of salt and gold between several regions. This wealth allowed the Mali Empire to establish Timbuktu as a major center of learning in Central Africa. Later, rulers would build extravagant mosques and temples there. The wealth of the Mali Empire was so famous that word of Timbuktu was spread to Europe. But the Mali Empire, like all empires, eventually fell. It suffered from infighting and was chipped away by outside forces. They wanted that money, that gold. They wanted the riches. The Songhai Empire conquered what remained of Mali in the 15th century. In the process, they took the Gambia River. The Songhai later collapsed when they came under repeated attacks by the Portuguese. In the 16th century, the Portuguese seized control of the Gambia River and used it as a trading hub. They bought slaves bound for the Caribbean and South America and sold guns in return. The name Gambia comes from the Portuguese word for trade, cambia. In the 1600s, the Portuguese ceded control over the Gambia. Over the next few centuries, it traded hands between the English and French. It ultimately became part of the UK Commonwealth. In the 1960s, the Gambia gained its independence from the UK. It established its own constitutional monarchy. Then in the 1970s, it became a republic. Since then, it has seen many different insurrections and coup attempts. Now we go over to the West Indies, African Caribbeans. Remember they was talking about the Gambians where they took all of that and started selling people to South America and the Caribbean islands and all that stuff. It just got finished telling you for the Gambians. And now here it is. Like I told you, I showed it in the map that I got family in the Caribbean islands and all them little other islands like Puerto Rico. What else is down there? Cuba, and then you got a few other places. I just can't think of it right now. Hawaii too. Said possible related countries of origin include Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Spain, Angola, Nigeria, Gambia, Senegal. Here's the thing I have about this, you know what I'm saying, because it's telling you possible related countries of origin. But yet, when I was going through where it's talking about different areas in Europe, they gave you very thorough. They knew exactly where it came from. You see what I'm saying? They told you exactly where it was from. Before Europeans, the Caribbean was populated by the Taino. When European colonists arrived, they enslaved many Taino to grow sugarcane. Most Taino died from disease and horrendous working conditions. This marked the beginning of the African slave trade. As slaves made a lot of money, Europeans turned to the nations of West Africa to find replacements for the dead Taino. Today, African Caribbeans make up the population majority of the Caribbean islands. It might be easy to assume that African Caribbean ancestry is West African ancestry. However, this is an inaccurate assessment of the origin of African Caribbean people. Slavery was abolished in the Caribbean roughly 30 years before it was in the United States. In fact, Haiti was the second nation in the western Haiti, Jamaica, as slavery. In fact, Haiti was the second nation in the Western Hemisphere to break free from the colonial rule. A slave revolt turned into revolution 23 years after the American Revolutionary War. When Haiti gained independence from France, it sparked a movement throughout the Caribbean. By 1807, the British banned the sale of slaves, though current slaves remained as they were. The people who remained found freedom within 30 years, but much of the Caribbean remained under European rule into the 20th century. African Caribbean people are genetically unique. This is partly because people from different African nations were forced to intermarry. Individual genetics will vary, but the average African Caribbean has an even split between Ghana, Benin, Nigeria, and the Congo, roughly 20 to 25% from each. Several other nations make up smaller percentages. This unique blend of cultures led to music and cuisine unlike that in any other part of the world. Creole groups share these characteristics, but are also unique in their own ways. Alrighty, that's it for that part right there. So now what we're about to get into is I got to get in here and get my dinner before they close up too. So and that's they close up in about an hour. So I'm really going to start running through this. That was a recent ancestry analysis. Then you got the advanced analysis report. Said we have combined cutting-edge genetic research with the anthropological history of the human race to create your advanced ancestry report. This report is an analysis that dates back thousands of years, well beyond your last 5 generations and most recent ancestry. The team at CRI compared your DNA to reference populations that have been discovered and genotyped from all over the world. We factor in the known history of human migration patterns over the last several thousand years before assigning them to your report. This process allows us to link through your ancestral lines to vast regions that span well across the planet. The results you see below reflect the oldest ancestries in your family history, populations of men and women that lived thousands of years before most current nations, such as Germany or Britain, even existed. However, your report will still include these country and region names in order to best help you identify which geographic location your genetic makeup arose from. Now, I'm gonna have to move it around so you can see exactly what's going on. Remember, in the recent, I showed you the map, and bam, you see how it shows up with Africa. Shows up with Africa, and then you got I don't know, you might be able to see it, and it's just because I'm thinking because of the camera, but that's what it shows. You see how with Africa, then up above Africa, what is that up there? You see those little dots up there too? Now remember on that map I was showing you where it was talking about it was all in red, but yet on here it's showing you once again not just recent, but also in the distant is there as well. It shows up in Africa, but it just doesn't show at the northern tip of Africa. And this is where I think GTL DNA, because they showed me my North African heritage. They gonna show me my North African heritage too, but GTL DNA showed it to me on the map as to where CRI genetics did. Now I had to move this over here and see. Now that's South America. It shows that that I have genetic ancestry over there in what looks like Peru. And then you got those you see in this map right here, it shows those little, remember on the map it showed a bunch of little lines and all that in the sea, but on here you can see that it's basically islands in that area. Those are islands that you thought was, it's all in the sea. No, those are islands that was being pointed to. It's just too small on that map that you can't see it. So therefore it just got in squiggly lines and all the other good stuff. But those were islands. It wasn't the ocean or the sea. It was islands. And see, when you get up in here, then now let's go down here. It says African. 91.8%. Europeans 6.4%. You see how it all changed. And then it got East Asian 1%. Add mixed American 0.5%. South Asian 4%. Add mixed American. North and South America got blips in them, but this is going spanning back thousands of years, not just 5 generations. The other one was a recent ancestry. That was 5 generations. This is going back thousands of generations. Thousands. Said this genotype is represented Isan in Nigeria. The Isan people, or as it said those who fled, and they fought against the Isan people fought against, who was that? The what? The was it? It wasn't a Mendi. They fought against somebody, But anyways, here's the breakdown for the African. Isan in Nigeria, 36.7%. Yoruba in Nigeria, 12.6%. Luya in Kenya, 12%. Mende in Sierra Leone, 11.4%. African Caribbean, 10.5%. Gambian, 5.9%. African American, 2.4%. African American, 2.4%. How did they break that down? Well, let's go to that. The term African American could apply to any person of African descent who lives in the United States, but is generally applied to the descendants of enslaved people who were captured in Africa and forcibly and generally applied to the descendants of that and forcibly transported to the United States of America. It would be easy to assume that African American ancestry is generally West African ancestry, as that it is where most of the enslaved Africans came to the Americas from. However, this would not tell the whole truth about who African American people are from a genetic or cultural standpoint. The effects of the slave trade on the African Americans living in the United States today have created a unique genome and culture that is now distinct from the West African ancestors. The genetic uniqueness of African Americans is largely due to their blending with people from other nations in American society, and not just West African nations. According to genetic studies, the average African American has anywhere between 70% and 85% West African ancestry, 15 to 25% European ancestry, and a very small percentage of Native American ancestry. Individual percentages will vary greatly. This mixed ancestry is partially due to white slave owners fathering children with their captive African women. Much of the European ancestry found in African Americans can also be traced to the Great Migration in the 20th century, which started around 1910 and continued all the way to 1970. During this time, millions of African Americans migrated north and west, fleeing the severe oppression of the South. While these refugees were still often met with discrimination in their new homes, there is genetic evidence that the northern and western states were at least slightly more tolerant and accepting than the Deep South, as African Americans lived in the North and West United States often have higher percentages of European heritage than those in the South. Despite the dark history of oppression, African Americans have played a significant role in forging American culture as we know it today. Every aspect of American culture, from food to literature to music, peanut butter, potato chips, and countless other staples of American food were invented by African Americans. The most popular cuisines of the South came from African Americans. Perhaps the biggest contribution to American culture is in music. Almost every one of the most popular genres of music can be directly traced to African American origins. Hip hop, R&B, rock and roll, blues, jazz, even country and bluegrass. Well, we already done went down there through all the rest of the other stuff. The African Americans was not. Then we did the European. But then I got East Asian. Hold on. It's all under 1%, but at the same time, what I like about this CRI genetics, they didn't give me no percentage that was unassigned. They told me exactly where it came from. East Asia. To some of y'all Asian people out there reading in a week, I do have some of you in me. Now, what is this? Hey, that's my look up something popping up on my screen. You see, yeah, Japanese at the top, 0.3%. Chinese Dai, 0.3%. Southern Han Chinese, 0.2%. Kin Vietnamese, 0.1%. Northern Han Chinese, 0.1%. This is why I say I got to do ancestry. I got to get an ancestry report out of the China itself, so I can so I can understand exactly what happened. Because I guarantee you that the numbers is probably a little higher than that. Because like I said, the Chinese have been arguing over that fact for a long time. They're not being properly represented, and I got to get in here and get my food. So like I said, they close an hour, and they usually like close it down like 15 minutes before they like to clear everything out. They only putting out. They only got stuff out there that's left over right now. Then you got the admixed American, Peruvian, Puerto Rican. Peruvian is 0.3%. Puerto Rican is 0.2%. South Asian, Punjabi, 0.2%. Bengali, 2.2%. European, Northwest European, Northern European, British Isles, Iberian, Tuscany, Italian. I just showed you all that stuff. Went through that.